The town of Silent Hill was never on any map, not anymore. It had faded from GPS systems, been scrubbed from road signs, and forgotten by everyone except the cursed few who had once walked its fog-choked streets. But for Ethan Graves, it wasn't forgotten. It was calling. Ethan hadn't set foot in Maine since his wife, Lily, vanished 3 years ago. Her final message was a cryptic, fragmented voicemail. "I'm in Silent Hill." I remember everything. The police dismissed it. Grief-induced hallucination, they said. A mind playing cruel tricks on itself. Ethan tried to believe them, to move on, to rebuild a life from the wreckage of his loss. But a part of him never left that moment, suspended in the static of her last words. Then, last week, a letter arrived. The paper was old, the ink slightly smeared, but the handwriting was unmistakably hers. To short sentences that shattered his fragile peace. "Come find me. Silent Hill is waiting." Hope is a dangerous thing, but it's also a powerful motivator. He packed a bag with the essentials, a camera to document whatever he found, a heavy-duty flashlight, and Lily's old leather-bound journal, its pages filled with her thoughts and dreams. He was going to a place that supposedly didn't exist, a ghost town swallowed by folklore. The drive was unsettling. The roads seemed to twist in unnatural ways, leading him deeper into a landscape that felt increasingly alien. The fog, a pale mist at first, grew into a suffocating, dense wall of gray. It clung to the car, muffling the world outside until all that remained was the hum of the engine and the frantic beating of his own heart. Just as he passed the rusted, skeletal welcome sign, his phone died. No signal, no GPS, just a black, silent screen. Stepping out of the car, the air hit him. It was thick, heavy with the smell of old ash and something else. Something that smelled like memory. Silent Hill wasn't empty. It was alive, breathing with a malignant energy. The dilapidated buildings seemed to groan, shifting in the fog as if they were settling into a more comfortable malevolence. Street lights flickered on and off in a chaotic rhythm, casting long, dancing shadows that moved without a source. Ethan's first stop was the old diner, a place frozen in time. He and Lily had shared coffee here once, on a trip years ago. Now, the vinyl on the booths was torn and peeling, the chrome was tarnished, and the jukebox in the corner played nothing but a low, hissing static. He approached the counter, and his reflection in the grimy mirror behind it did something impossible. It blinked a fraction of a second after he did. A cold dread washed over him. Then, a sound cut through the static, the faint, echoing laughter of a child coming from the kitchen. His hand trembled as he gripped his flashlight, the beam cutting a nervous path through the gloom. He pushed open the swinging doors and stepped inside. The laughter stopped. Pinned to a corkboard on the wall was a child's crayon drawing. It depicted a simple stick figure man and a woman holding hands. But looming behind them was a terrifying, towering shape with a red, pointed helmet. Scrawled underneath in a child's messy script were 2 words, "He's watching." Ethan's search for answers led him to the derelict Brookhaven Hospital. Inside, he found the first living person he'd seen since arriving, or at least, he thought she was alive. She wore a stained nurse's uniform, but her face was completely wrapped in gauze, hiding whatever lay beneath. Her movements were unnatural, jerky and spasmodic, like a marionette with tangled strings. As he got closer, she turned her head, and a muffled whisper escaped the bandages. "She's in the other world. You'll need to bleed to see." He instinctively backed away, his mind screaming at him to run. As he did, the hospital began to transform around him. The sterile white tiles buckled and peeled away, revealing a hellscape of rusted metal, dangling chains, and walls that seemed to weep blood. The air grew thick with the smell of iron and decay. This wasn't just a hallucination. It was a physical shift, the very fabric of reality tearing apart. The nurse, no longer whispering, let out a guttural shriek and lunged, a scalpel suddenly glinting in her hand. Ethan scrambled backward, heart pounding in his throat, and burst through a set of double doors, expecting to find the hospital corridor. Instead, he found himself outside again, but it wasn't daylight. The same oppressive fog was there, but the town itself, it had changed. The buildings were warped, twisted into grotesque parodies of their former selves. He was beginning to understand. Silent Hill had layers. The fog-shrouded town he first entered was just a surface, an illusion. Beneath it lay this place, the otherworld, a manifestation of rust, decay, and the darkest corners of the human psyche. He found himself standing before the elementary school where Lily had once taught. Her classroom was eerily intact, a pocket of normalcy in the surrounding chaos. But on the chalkboard, written in what looked like her handwriting, were 4 words that felt like a punch to the gut. You left me here. Then he heard it. A sound that didn't belong, the heavy, scraping sound of metal dragging on concrete. It was slow, deliberate, and filled with menace. He knew, instinctively, what it was. Pyramid Head, the executioner of Silent Hill, the creature from the child's drawing. A towering figure emerged from the fog, its head encased in that brutal, blood-stained pyramid of steel. In one hand, it dragged a massive, cleaver-like blade that sent sparks flying as it scraped the ground. Ethan's blood ran cold. He dove into a nearby locker, pulling the door shut, peering through the thin metal slats, his breath caught in his chest. Pyramid Head moved past, its stride unhurried. It was dragging something behind it, but it wasn't just a blade. It was a shape, a body, or was it just a memory given terrifying form? Ethan's desperate journey eventually led him to the Lakeside Hotel, another landmark from his past with Lily. He found a room at the end of a long, dark corridor, a room filled with mirrors of all shapes and sizes. But these were no ordinary mirrors. Each one reflected a different version of Lily. In one, she was laughing, her face full of joy. In another, she was crying, tears streaming down her face. In a third, she was screaming, her mouth a silent O of terror. In the last, she was covered in blood. As he watched, horrified, that final mirror cracked, and a thick, dark liquid began to bleed from the fissures. He reached out a trembling hand and touched the fractured glass. He gave way, revealing a hidden passage behind it. He stepped through, into a narrow hall where the walls themselves seemed to whisper, dredging up his deepest sins. You forgot her birthday. You lied about the miscarriage. You wanted to leave. Each whisper was a blow, a memory he had buried, now unearthed and thrown back at him. At the far end of the hall, a figure stood, silhouetted against a dim light. It was Lily, or something wearing her face, its eyes hollow and cold. You came too late, it said, its voice a hollow echo of the woman he loved. Now you must stay. And then she dissolved into mist, leaving only her journal lying on the floor. He picked it up and turned to the final entry. The ink was fresh. To escape Silent Hill, you must forgive yourself. But forgiveness is a lie. He knew where he had to go. The old church at the center of town. He walked through the decaying pews to the altar. It was covered not with religious icons, but with photographs from his life. Pictures of him and Lily, of his failures, his regrets, his deepest shamus. A voice, ancient and disembodied, spoke from the stained glass window above. Sacrifice your guilt, or become part of the town. He clutched Lily's journal, his own guilt a physical weight in his chest. With a final, shuddering breath, he placed the journal on the altar. The moment it touched the stone, the church began to shake violently. The fog outside swirled into a vortex of gray and black, and then he appeared. Pyramid Head materialized before the altar, its massive blade raised, poised to strike. But this time, Ethan didn't run, he didn't hide. He simply knelt, closed his eyes, and accepted his fate. I'm sorry, he whispered to Lily, to himself, to the town. The great blade fell, rushing toward him with a deafening whistle, and stopped inches from his neck. The immense pressure of its presence lingered for a moment. Then Pyramid Head turned, its purpose fulfilled, and walked away, disappearing back into the mists. And as it vanished, the fog began to lift. Ethan awoke on the side of the road. On the edge of town, his car was parked nearby, untouched. He was dazed, covered in grime, but alive. He fumbled for his phone in his pocket. It buzzed to life, the screen illuminating. There was one new message, received just moments ago. It was from Lily's number, 2 words. "Thank you." He got in his car and drove away, the engine a reassuring roar. He never once looked in the rearview mirror. He didn't need to. He knew Silent Hill was still there, fading into the horizon, waiting patiently for the next lost soul burdened by guilt.